Turns out your boy was right. I tried to tell you guys. I'm not acting like I know everything or that I'm a psychic or anything, but we heard how Suno has settled with WMG Warner Music Group. I told you guys the Udio attack by what was it, Universal? That is just the game of them trying to acquire technology that they can't afford. So they have to attack the companies to try to pull it under their umbrella. All these acquisitions did, or these settlements did, in my opinion, is simply make the monopoly of the music industry even bigger. Okay, so when we heard the campaigns of Curtis King, DJ Payne 1, Venus Theory, Ben Jordan, Top Music Attorney was the main one that I know pushed it. I'm not sure if it was her campaign or somebody else's campaign. Who else was on that campaign? There was a lot of people pushing this like, hey, we should join forces and go against Suno and Udio and join this email list so that I could tell you guys how to have a copyright drive right when these settlements are going down, to sell you the ability to copyright your music. Join this email list and come join the fight. I saw straight through that. I saw straight through it. And what did I tell you guys? And I'm not here to gloat or anything. I just want you guys to be more aware, okay? Because when everybody was pushing this go against AI companies and unethical things and all this type of stuff, what they were ultimately doing is just making Sony, Warner, Universal bigger. We can't say Opify, F Opify, let's leave Opify, F the record labels, they're just stealing from artists, they only give us 13%, and then go and say F AI, it's unethical, and then basically we're pushing the power back to the monopoly. And let me show you guys how this all works. So let's read the article, the official article by Billboard. It says Suno and WMG, which is Warner Music Group, which is one of the three of the Illuminati, okay, one of the three of the monopoly, I call it. You have Warner, Sony, and Universal. Those music companies run the music world. All right, so it says Suno and WMG Inc. licensing deal, effectively settling WMG's legal claims against the AI music company. The deal also includes the acquisition of Songkick, a live music discovery platform, which was previously owned by WMG. Basically, some arbitrary acquisition that they did not want or need. Okay, so Suno and Warner Music Group have signed a licensing agreement to forge a new chapter in the music creation. A new chapter in music creation, as Suno CEO Mikey Schulman put it in a company blog post. The deal effectively settles WMG's part of the $500 million copyright infringement lawsuit against Suno. So just to give you guys context, Suno just raised another $250 million. So WMG went in and put this astronomical figure on them because they wanted to pressure them into doing something. They did not have the leverage. So they just hit them with, hey, you stole all our stuff. We're going to sue you guys for $1 billion. And this company is just now getting its momentum. They don't have $1 billion yet. Okay, I don't know how much money they actually have. So to be correct, I don't know that number. But they make this astronomical number, not because they want them to actually pay the number. It's so they just bow down and just, give everything to the record labels. So let's read on. The deal effectively settles WMG's part of the $500 million copyright infringement lawsuit against Suno, which it filed alongside UMG and Sony Music last summer, pardon me. So I want you guys to keep seeing these themes, these little themes, okay? WMG, okay, sued for $500 million for copyright infringement, even though that's not even how AI models work under the hood, okay? And I've gone through this in a different video. I don't have time to explain it. They work off of what are called weights, and it's not just pulling from like a website. Like, for example, most people think AI is you type in a keyword, you pull from this library of books, and you pull the exact Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich book, and now you're going to copy that exact book into your book. That's not how it works. It looks at the patterns of the Napoleon Hill's book, the principles of the Napoleon Hill book. It extracts those principles and puts it into what's called a weight, from what I understand. And then when people inquiry to the library, metaphorically speaking, they don't pull from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. They pull from all the concepts, and then they merges those concepts into a brand new thing. And people who don't understand that fundamental science of how AI is trained, they always come at it with this infringement thing. And we talked about fair use and public data and all that information before. So I don't have time to explain it in this video. I'll link the other video below, which is a little scientific. Okay, but here's the thing. It says WMG filed alongside UMG and Sony. You will always see these three working in tandem. Tell me how these three companies are competing and they're different from one another, but they keep going after the same stuff. It seems like they're working together. So the top three companies in this music world are all working together. How's that not a monopoly? I just want you guys to keep asking that question. How's that not a monopoly? Which means if they own the monopoly, that means you don't have a choice which distributor to upload to. You don't have a choice which venues are owned by who. You don't have a choice which radio station. It's all controlled. Okay, you don't have zero choice in reality. Technically, yeah, you have choices, but really that you don't have choice unless you're like fully independent. Okay. Which it filed alongside UMG and Sony Music last summer. UMG and Sony Music's part of the lawsuit is still ongoing. Now, who did UMG go after? Udio, the other top AI company for generation. Now, when a company goes after another company, they don't want to destroy the company. That'd be foolish because Suno has, 100 million users last time I heard? I don't know if that number is accurate. You guys got to go fact check that. Actually, let's do it in real time. All right, so roughly speaking, they have over 100 million users. So you're telling me the record labels that claim they're doing it for the artists and the ethics of music and to protect people's copyrights, that's what they claim because they want you to use your force and your energy and your focus to work for them for free so that when they get what they want, they could just use the next big common enemy. It's called common enemy. Okay, they do this all of the time. So you're not helping yourselves as artists. This is not about ethics. This is about the monopoly wanting more control. And it says here, the deal also includes Suno's acquisition. Now, before we talk about the acquisition, as a record label, why would I want to destroy an AI company if I wanted to control it? Okay, so you're telling me if this was truly about ethics and how they're an evil company and Suno is just so evil and all this type of stuff, why wouldn't you just completely take it out? It's because it had nothing to do with that. They want to control the 100 million users because you guys got to understand this story goes really deep and I don't have time to explain the whole thing. But these record labels essentially want to create their own Spotify. That's my hypothesis. They want to create their own Spotify because Spotify is an unnecessary middleman to the music industry. This essentially gives them control to be able to have enough users to start to get their streaming platforms that they control underway. Let's see how many users Spotify has. All right, it says here, according to Grok, that Spotify has 713 million active users. Okay, now why is that important? It's because 100 million is very close to 700 million. So if they can get their foot in the door, metaphorically speaking, to start to create a competition for Spotify, they don't need Spotify anymore. Okay, they want to increase the profits. They want to increase the returns. The middleman is just siphoning out those returns. Okay, and this is how the music industry thinks because they're not operators. They're not people who make the music. They just own a catalog and they want to extract all the wealth from the catalog. And the way they do that is by really just muscling people behind the scenes, as you guys can see here. So they're owning your rights or on your behalf, exploiting your rights to get more revenue in the door. And the way they do that is in a very mafia-like way. So don't ever consider the music industry your friend. These guys are cutthroat and it's not even business. It's really just war tactics, but it's disguised as for the people. I don't want you guys to fall into that trap. This is not for the people. This is for the monopoly to grow stronger so that they can basically create a Spotify competitor that they control. You guys remember, I don't want to go too deep down the rabbit hole, but do you remember when TikTok had this issue with Universal Music? That was UMG trying to, on behalf of the United States, they were trying to flex their muscle. Oh, we'll remove our catalog and we'll see how your little TikTok goes. And then UMG realized very quickly TikTok still was TikTok after UMG left. And then they came back. Now they did gain some benefits in coming back to renegotiate, but they didn't control TikTok, which was the whole point of banning TikTok, was to try to buy it from China and ByteDance. So that deal never went through. It never had an American buyer. So China's like, F y'all, we're going to continue to be China, whether you guys hate us or love us, we're going to be China. And I think UMG realized that they can't muscle China. Why can't they muscle China? I know we're going off on a deep end. They can't muscle China because China have the people. India has the people. American birth rates are actually going down. So America was known for having so many people, 300 million people. China now has, let's see the actual population in China and India. All right, so China has 1.4 billion people. That's almost 5 times the size of the United States. And India the same, 1.4 billion people, and they have a growing middle class. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you guys is that the suppliers that were the suppliers for the United States are now saying, why are we not working together? That's what the whole BRICS thing is about, BRICS, which I think stands for Brazil. Don't get me to making this up. Russia, India. What's C stand for? Let me go look it up. Oh, duh. China. And let me see what the S stands for. Okay, S was surprising. South Africa, out of all the places. Okay, so it's Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. So we're seeing the surface level of this war, which is like Suno, UMG attacks Udio. We're seeing, what was it? Warner goes after Suno. That's the surface level stuff. This goes way deeper. This is on a country level. I want you guys to understand this. This is a country level battle. This is not about just who can upload to Spotify. This is about controlling a culture. If I can control TikTok, I can basically control how the kids act. And if the kids act a certain way, they basically manifest a certain reality in America. You can basically control America by controlling the app that Americans use every day as if it's like a drug. Okay, so the United States understands this, and that's why they had such a huge issue with TikTok and this whole battle, and UMG pulled out on behalf of the United States to try to control TikTok. It did nothing because they realized, okay, China actually has the numbers. There are 1.4 billion users, India, 1.4 billion people there, and they're growing in technology and different things. And when you have an alliance like BRICS, for example, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and all the other countries kind of hopping on board, it's hard when you are the person who basically in America, we just flip whatever the suppliers make and make more money out of it. You guys saw where the whole China Gate thing went down on TikTok, where they exposed America for, like, let's say they had a Rolex watch, for example, and they're like, did you guys know that Rolex is actually made in China, and then it's going to Sweden just to get stamped, and then they send it to you, but it's really made for like $50, but you sell it for like $19,000. And that whole expose was to show you guys China controls the supply. America just flips it. We're the best salesmen, but China controls the supply. And what happens when all of the suppliers band together and they say, F the salesman, I could sell this myself through apps like TikTok, through users like Americans who can gain affiliate income? Because as you guys know, Instagram, one of the hard things about monetizing was that it's just half impossible really to get any kind of monetization on Instagram, at least the old Instagram. That's where TikTok became so much of a threat. Is if you guys remember, TikTok, the moment they introduced TikTok Shop, that's when America went after TikTok, because now they could get their goods, they could skip the middleman called America and go straight to the consumer. So again, the game is cutting out the middleman. Okay, we've seen this with China, we've seen this with the record industry. The record industry says, okay, we control the supply. Why can't we band together WMG, Sony, Universal, and cut out the middleman called Spotify? It's the same thing, okay? And I cover this in a deeper video about the history of Spotify. Let's continue this article specifically, though. So Billboard says, the deal also includes Suno's acquisition of WMG's owned live music discovery platform Songkick, which will continue to run as is. Now, why would a company acquire Songkick? I've never heard of Songkick, and why would anybody care about live music discovery? Personally speaking, I'm speaking from just theory, because I don't have any insider. I think they were forced to grab this so that people found it relevant to tie the AI thing to a live thing. So we'll see how that works. Over time, maybe they'll have it to where you generate your AI and then you could scout somebody who looks like your AI who will go out and perform. I don't know. I'd have to dig deeper into Songkick. I have no idea what this actually does. All right, so it says Songkick says, find the best concerts near you, tour dates, etc., etc. It looks like to me they're trying to dominate the live event space, because if they can control the generation of the music, they know that more people are going to flood to more live events, because now, potentially speaking, people might not consume digital as much, or maybe they will, who knows the future. So it seems like they're hedging their bets to own more of the live venue type thing. And I asked Grok an important question here, and I said, where's the headquarters of the top 3 record labels? So they're all centered in the United States. So in my opinion, if your headquarters is in the US, you're basically a US company. Because you're working through the US, and especially if you're the top companies in the world at what you do, you definitely run by what the US tells you to do. Okay, so they're definitely acting on behalf of the US. And secondly, I said, which country technically owns these companies? So France apparently owns Universal, which is kind of weird. Like, they're one of the top in America. Japan owns Sony, and it says United States citizen. Okay, United States owns WMG. So it turns out the country that got the best AI generator so far is the United States, according to who owns it, who's an American. So that's why I said this stuff is just surface level stuff. We need to address this stuff deeper than this stuff. All right, let's continue. I won't comment as much. Let's just continue to read this article here. So the deal also includes Suno's acquisition of the WMG-owned live music discovery platform Songkick. Firstly, if WMG came after Suno, why is Suno acquiring a WMG asset? That sounds like some money transfer that didn't need to happen. I don't know. That seems like some, I ain't gonna say, but that seems very sketchy to me, which will continue to run as is. So what are they acquiring it for? Like to insert AI into live music? Like what's the point of that? Especially if it's under Suno's control. What's the point of the acquisition there? The forced acquisition. That's super weird. So forced sale. Then it says the combination of Suno and Songkick will create new potential to deepen the artist-fan connection. That is BS to the highest level. Well, whoever wrote this is on the most fluffy fluff. The combination of Suno and Songkick will create new potential to deepen the artist-fan connection. Who's the artist if you have an AI platform? That makes no sense. Says a press release. Okay, so we got to remember, guys, they're not going to say the real intent because this is for press, not, this isn't like us being in the office with the CEOs. So they're never really going to tell us their intent. As Suno's blog post puts it, the licensing agreement with WMG introduces new opportunities for artists and songwriters to get paid. How can they get paid if you can't attribute keywords to specific people? How are they getting paid? It makes no sense. Maybe you can get paid to train the model so that you can go in and record your voice and do it in all these different ways so it has the training data. But once you have the training data, again, it's not somebody going to the library saying, hey, I want a Napoleon Hill type book. And it pulls from the, Think and Grow Rich, and then it gives you the exact chapter and it copies and pastes that over to your new book. That's not how AI works. It works off of patterns and concepts because it studies the changes in the ones and zeros. So it says, introduces new opportunities for artists and songwriters to get paid. The only way I can see that happening is on the front end, not on the actual back end. So if people talk about, hey, we'll get paid in perpetuity with royalties every time somebody uses the AI Chris Brown model, I meant to say, then they'll get paid. Now, only unless it's specifically somebody's voice, like a celebrity, Chris Brown, whatever, Rihanna, I don't know. That would make sense if somebody wanted to make a Rihanna song or a Chris Brown song. But when it comes to, hey, I want an R&B down-tempo beat in the key of C minor, who are they attributing that to? There is no attribution because it's not going to be a thing. So that is where they're finessing you guys, in my opinion, to lead you in with the carrot called money, but they're really getting the real asset, which is you to train the AI model, because the only thing stopping Suno from being the greatest in the world right now is they don't have enough training material that sounds high quality. So by these record labels coming after them, they're actually doing business together. And who's to say Warner is not going to feed Suno the multi-tracks where it's like the most pristine recording chain, and now you have the cleanest source sound ever on the planet? That's when Suno reaches its highest gear. But they can't just go out and do it themselves. They had to basically either partner with the majors or, in this case, be attacked by the majors. Now, who's to say this wasn't planned, this whole attack from WMG? Because what if WMG and Universal saw earlier that AI was a threat to the average artist? So they said, okay, we can't just acquire Suno because now it looks like we just don't care about artists. So they say, okay, we're going to go after Suno, but then we settle. And then we're basically doing the same thing we would do if we just acquired Suno. Well, I'm just saying in theory, not technically. Okay, so as Suno's blog post puts it, the licensing agreement with WMG introduces new opportunities for artists to get paid. Again, that's very sketchy to me. The only way you could do that is if you pay them to train into the model. Or like I said, they have some kind of Chris Brown vocal model or something. But it does not describe exactly how, because that's the part that nobody wants to get into, is the nuance. So it does, however, note that participating is optional for WMG artists. Yeah, right. That is not optional. They're going to say, hey, you can participate in this Suno thing or we'll drop you. That's the option. It's not optional. It says it does, however, note that participating is optional for WMG artists and songwriters who can opt in for their use of their names, images, and likenesses, voices, and compositions to be used in AI-generated music as they wish. Yeah, the F right. You guys can see right through that. They're going to leverage all their artists. Yeah, they'll ask them, but like I said, there's going to be a consequence. It's almost like the person who you owe a favor to, and they ask you for a favor, but it's not really a yes or no question. Or maybe even, like, for example, if you're in a relationship and it's like, hey, honey, will you get the trash? That's not a question. That's a statement. It's basically saying, hey, honey, get the trash, but it's positioned as a question. And that's exactly how I see this, where the record labels are going to go to the artist. Hey, you want to do that AI model training thing? It's not a question. It's a statement. A press release about the deal also notes that it will compensate and protect artists, yeah, right, songwriters in the wider creative community. I'm not here to bash Suno. This is not Suno bashing. I just think that this is just talk right now. Because the way AI works, whether you guys can understand this fully or not, is that basically, let's say I can create my own Chris Brown model. All I need to do is find a bunch of Chris Brown songs, extract the vocals using some stem extractor, run it through the model training, and now I have my own Chris Brown vocal model. That's already been done. I've shown you guys how to do it for free on my website at busyworksbeats.com/premium. So how are they protecting artists? What's being protected here? Nothing. Okay, it's all fantasy. The blog post also states that the WMG partnership unlocks a bigger, richer Suno experience for you, including new, more robust features for creation, opportunities to collaborate and interact with some of the most talented musicians in the world. I just think they're going to use it as like a contest to draw in more people. Like, you could work with Chris Brown. You really think Chris Brown's going to sit there and go through thousands and tens of thousands submissions to pick a winner? No, he's not going to. So how is this collaboration and interaction with the most talented musicians in the world going to work? Like, unless it's a contest, I don't see it happening in a physical way. Maybe it happens in some kind of, I don't know, some kind of machine learned way. It says it adds that the deal preserves the magic of Suno and the way you've come to love creating with it. Okay, so I'm not mad at Suno with this. I just want to address the UMG stuff. So this article continues. News of the agreement comes just weeks after, perfectly before Black Friday, mind you. 2 days, a day before Thanksgiving, or 2 days before Thanksgiving, and just before Black Friday, we get this magical settlement. Just before Black Friday, so that it hits the news and Suno gets even more users. This is all marketing, y'all. I see straight through this. It says news of the agreement comes just weeks after UMG forged a licensing deal with with Udio, pardon me. Which was also sued by the majors in a near identical lawsuit. That deal resulted in Udio pivoting its services significantly, becoming more of a fan engagement platform where users could play with UMG copyrights whose rights holder opted into the platform's walled garden environment. Basically, Udio was falling way behind, and they're like, okay, how do we preserve Udio and not destroy it? Okay, we're going to turn this into a walled garden where it's just about our artist and you can mess with our likeness of our artist. But we don't want you guys to compete with Suno, which is this is like the NVIDIA of AI music. They don't want any competitors. I'm trying to tell you guys to look through the words, okay? It's almost like handicapping Udio so that it seems like they're fighting the same race, but Suno is way ahead. And like I said, the only final capstone for Suno, because once version 5 came out, it was impeccable. So the final capstone was just having the training material to get the highest quality training material. That was the only capstone. No, what do you call it? No, what is it? Man, I'm forgetting the word here. Open source. No open source project had access to the, millions of records that these record labels have and the multi-tracks, meaning the individual sounds perfectly recorded and separated so it's not in the mix of everything else. They were the only companies who controlled those multi-tracks. So an open source project can never compete against the Suno. It can never compete against somebody who has this record label access. No matter how good you guys think stem separation gets, it's not like having the real multi-tracks. Nobody on the planet can compete with these record labels. And you guys just made them bigger by pushing that whole class action thing. You just basically made it bigger, because now all these companies have to do is train the raw material into the system. They have zero competition in the world, okay? Zero. And nobody can ever catch up. Okay, so I just want you guys to understand how huge this is, which also, okay, that deal resulted in Udio pivoting its services. Okay, Okay, WMG followed suit with a similar agreement on November 19th. All right, so this looks like the last bit of this article here. So I'll just read this through. It says the press release states that in 2026, Suno will make several changes to the platform, including launching new and improved licensed music making models, but that is not pivoting away from its core offerings. When that new model rolls out, aka version 6 of Suno, the release says that the current one will be deprecated. Okay, so basically, it seems like what they're saying right here is that once V6 comes out, maybe the older versions that we can access right now, we won't be able to access, because right now I can generate all the way back to version 2 on Suno. But once version 6 comes out, which is going to be better than version 5, who would even want to go backwards anyway? But it seems like it's a little more controlled in terms of what they've trained on. Now, are they going to go in and change the weights of their system? I don't know. They're not clear about, are they going to adjust the old models, or how they're going to go about training version 6, or is it going to be completely new? They don't go into detail, at least currently, about how they're going to train this new thing. It seems like they'll keep the same training material. It's just that now they have access, like I said, to the multi-tracks. That's what it comes off as, but they're not clear about how or what will be trained in the new model. Okay. It says, given that it is not licensed. See, okay, so they're deprecating the old version because it's not licensed. Okay, so what's the new version going to be? The version trained on the multi-tracks of Warner Music? Like, it's going to be better, not worse. Okay, so moving forward, downloading audio will require a paid account. This is not for ethics and for the goodness of mankind. This is just so people get paid. Okay, Warner wants money. They said no more free accounts because you're... Here, y'all, listen, I know I keep saying this. I want you guys to understand the music industry is a monopoly. The music industry is a monopoly. The music industry is a monopoly. Once they control the entire market with zero competition, they raise the price. That's what monopolies do, because they have zero competition. So they can raise the price as high as they want because there's zero competition. Even the open source models, they're not going to be even remotely close. Okay. It's going to be such a far jump. It's almost like Nano Banana Pro versus, like, I don't know, some old, Imagine model back in the day or whatever, or Dolly like 3 when it first came out. That's, the difference. And nobody's going to be like, you know what, I want the old version I want the lesser trained open source version. No, they're not going to want that. They're going to want the highest quality. So when you have the entire market under your control, what do? You raise prices as a monopoly because you can just charge as much as you want. There's no alternatives. This is a monopoly, okay? And I don't know how this has not been addressed and why nobody cares. Okay, Suno will introduce download restrictions in certain scenarios. Specifically in the future, songs may... Now, firstly, let me tell you guys something. There's no such thing as a download restriction. I can get a Google Chrome extension that can record audio straight from my browser. There is no such thing as a download restriction. Okay, so let's get that out of here. That's just cap. Suno will introduce download restrictions in certain scenarios. Specifically in the future, songs made on the free tier will not be downloadable. That's because they want you to pay and will instead be playable and shareable. Basically, you're doing the marketing for them. You're sending people to the Suno site to hear your song, okay? And they get free people to sign up to their website, and maybe they'll pay, maybe they won't. That's marketing. So basically, it looks like you can only download the song if you're on a paid plan, it seems like. Now, this is a statement to the users, it seems like. People who are maybe upset about this, the users. Then it says paid users of Suno will also be limited in the number of downloads they can make each month. Why would they number the downloads each month? Who set this parameter? It's the record labels, because the record labels want to control. It's almost like an internet company. If you're just live streaming and you're a pro gamer and you're just going ham on Halo and everybody's hating you because you're the best in the world, what do? They go to your internet service provider. They try to F up your network connection so that you don't have the best agility and the best fluidity. So now your frames are going like this. And now you can't compete in Halo anymore because they controlled your internet speed. It's the same thing here. They are throttling you at the source. This is not about Suno. This is about Warner trying to kill the competition. They're trying to kill the AI competition, from uploading to Spotify. Because if you continuously use Suno to generate stuff and upload to Spotify, you're now fighting against the catalogs they control. So they said, okay, how do we control the competition? We go to the source, Suno Udio. Okay, now we didn't destroy the website because that would cause a massive backlash. So they said, okay, how can we control it but make it look like they still have autonomy? Oh, I know. We'll number their downloads so they can't create 1,000 songs in a day and upload it to Spotify to compete against my artists. That's all this is. It has nothing to do with restraints and all this extra bull crap. It's not for the artists. Like I said, this fight was never for the artists. To unlock additional downloads, they have to pay extra fees. Oh my goodness, that is trizash. So they're basically taxing you for generating stuff. And I'm not talking about Suno. I'm talking about WMG. Okay, this is the most mafia-like bullcrap I've ever seen. It's not critique against Suno. This landmark pact with Suno is a victory for the creative community that benefits everyone. I would disagree. WMG CEO Robert Kennel, or whatever your name is. This landmark pact with Suno is a victory for the creative community that benefits everyone. No, it does not. It benefits your pockets. With Suno rapidly scaling, both in users and monetization, we've seized this opportunity to shape models that expand revenue and deliver new fan experiences. We are here to deliver new fan experiences. That's not what it's for. They're lying to you. Okay, that is not their intent to deliver new fan experiences. Their intent is to control the competition, beat the competition down, throttle the competition, and if you want to continue to be competition, you got to pay up. Okay, because they can't control competitors. That's why they go after the platforms. When they go after Spotify and they go after DistroKid and all these different things, when they own it, they say, okay, I can't control how many bedroom producers are going to make songs. So I'm not going to sign them probably. So let's control the platform they put their music on or go through to even get to Spotify. They can control that. They can't control you. So this is a control mechanism, and I see straight through it. All right, so it says, okay, we've seized this opportunity to shape models that expand revenue and deliver new fan experiences. AI becomes pro-artist. No, it doesn't. It's always been pro-artist. It becomes pro-record label controlling it. AI becomes pro-artist when it adheres to our principles, committing to licensed models. That doesn't matter. Reflecting the value of music on and off platform. That doesn't even make sense. And providing artists and songwriters with an opt-in for their use, a name, image, likeness, voice, and compositions in the new AI songs. That was always a thing. That's not new. Okay. Suno CEO Schulman added, our partnership with Warner Music unlocks a bigger, richer Suno experience for music lovers and accelerates our mission to change the place of music in the world by making it more valuable to billions of people. Notice they keep saying more valuable, richer experience because they have no competition. They're trying to grow. How do you lever up fast? You deal with the record labels. And now their target is the world. Instead of just 100 million, they're going for billions of people, okay? And notice they kept saying fan experiences, fan experiences. That's because they're not targeting music creators anymore. They're going to be targeting people who just listen to music, and they're trying to attract them to come to the platform, to grow the platform, because there's not that many, there's not billions of music creators in the world. Okay. Together we can enhance how music is made, consumed. Boom, 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 boom. I told you guys this. We can enhance how music is made, consumed, experienced, and shared. Consumed. This is the plan to roll out, in my opinion, my guess, my theory, my hypothesis, an AI Spotify that they control. If they can control the new version of Spotify, that is their ultimate dream as the music industry. And then it says, this means we'll be rolling out new, more robust features for creation, opportunities to collaborate and interact with some of the most talented musicians in the world, all while continuing to build the biggest music ecosystem possible. Again, no shade to Suno. You guys are doing the thing. WMG, they're already raising the prices, coming in, kicking down doors, telling people to, man, this is really not good, in my opinion, in terms of artists in the music industry. I really feel for you guys because it's not about AI at this point. It's about your owners, your slave owners, basically giving them the ability to create their own slaves. They don't need you as artists anymore. And I say that harshly because I want you guys to understand these people only get paid when you create something. They don't exist if you don't create something. Therefore, they are leeching off of you guys, exploiting your rights. Now, sometimes they could take your dollar idea and make it $100. Okay, there's value there, but for the most part, they're banks. Okay, and as you guys know, sometimes banks do good deals, sometimes they do bad deals. And for the most part, I don't hear people cheering to go jump into the music industry and get signed. Okay, and there's a reason for that. Now, this deal with Suno and WMG basically accelerated that cause. Now, the only alternative I could see is if some kind of Chinese company comes out of the woodwork and just creates some kind of competitive platform to Suno and has all this material they get from like some kind of Chinese company that they record their own music. The only thing it would be that you don't have the English training. So I'm not sure how that will work. But the only way I could see any competitor coming is like, it has to be out of left field. And I don't know. I just can't see it. I think the game is kind of wrapped and sealed. Suno wins, WMG wins, and now the United States is in control of the world's most accurate music generation tool. And they're positioning as it for the people. I just don't believe it's for the people. I think this is for the record labels. I don't want to make this video too long. I have a lot of passion behind this because I just hate when people position something as this is for the people, and it's really not. And I want you guys to look at all those content creators who pushed that whole class action lawsuit for Suno, Udio, and all those people. Yeah, Top Music Attorney pushed it mainly. Curtis King, Venus Theory, Ben Jordan, There were some other people. Let me find it. DJ Payne 1, for example. So it's like, I need you guys to like revisit how you look at these people. I'm not saying look at them negatively. I'm saying look at the facts. The fact is we just made the monopoly bigger. That's the fact. So what do we really do joining forces as artists going against these big companies? What would really happen except for an email list being built? I've seen this before with Cymatics. I showed you guys it's going to happen again. You didn't listen to me. Now we see the result. And it's like, what did you guys actually win? Nothing. You won nothing. Good day, sir. Peace.